Welcome, dear dreamer. You've arrived at Whispers of the Night. Tonight's journey is called Rainfall and the Stars, a sleepy astronomer's journey. Together, we'll wander beneath the sky of glistening constellations, listening as the rain becomes a companion to the stars. As you settle in, let your body grow heavy, like a stone resting peacefully on soft earth. Let your thoughts begin to quiet, like pages closing after a long day. You are safe here, wrapped in a story that moves as slowly as the night itself. So, whenever you are ready, close your eyes, take a slow breath, and let the world outside fade away. Now, before we begin our journey, let's prepare your body and mind for rest. Start by noticing your breath as if it were a quiet river, flowing without effort. Slowly inhale through your nose. Feel the cool air filling your chest, rising gently, like the sky lifting a morning mist. Then exhale, long and steady, as though you are releasing a soft sigh to the stars. Notice the rhythm, inhale and exhale, each cycle carrying you deeper into stillness. With every breath, imagine your body growing heavier, like rain soaking into warm earth. Now bring your attention to your shoulders. Let them drop, easing the weight they have carried all day. Allow your arms to soften, your hands resting in stillness. Feel your legs heavy, like stones resting at the bottom of a clear pool. With each passing moment, the rain outside your window seems to sync with your breathing. You can almost hear it, a steady patter, soothing, ancient, as if the sky itself were whispering lullabies to you. The stars above, though hidden, still shine, and you feel their presence, steady, patient, eternal. Their light waits for you, just as sleep does. You are safe here. Nothing is urgent. Nothing is needed. All that matters now is this story, this night, and this gentle falling into rest. A sleepy astronomer's journey. Raindrops on the observatory roof. The rain begins gently, a soft percussion against the curved wooden dome above you. You listen as drops gather, fall, and scatter, each note like the striking of a quiet bell. The observatory is hushed, dim and warm, a sanctuary set apart from the restless world outside. It feels almost like sitting inside a seashell, where sound is softened, curved, and carried to you in waves. You lean back in your chair, feeling the stillness that exists between raindrops. The storm is steady, yet never the same. Each drop arriving at its own pace, its own rhythm. It reminds you of the sky above the dome, the great canopy of stars, scattered not in lines, but in patient randomness. There is a pattern, yes, but one too large, too intricate, too ancient to be rushed into clarity. The observatory around you is not grand or modern. It is an older place, built of wood and stone, with a dome that creaks faintly when the rain becomes heavy. The air smells faintly of varnish, paper, and cooled metal. Somewhere in the corner, the telescope rests its body long and dark, like a sleeping animal waiting to awaken. For now, though, the heavens are hidden by the storm, and so you let the rain become the night's first teacher. Rain, after all, is astronomy's quiet companion. The sky and the weather have always dictated what can be seen, what must be postponed, and what may only be dreamed of. Even the most dedicated astronomers across centuries have known the frustration of clouded nights, yet they also learned patience, a kind of listening that is not only with the eyes, but with the mind. When you cannot look upward, you learn instead to imagine, to recall, to trust the continuity of the stars. You let yourself drift back, centuries before this observatory was even imagined. The first sky watchers had no domes, no instruments, no glass to bend light. They had only open skies, and yet the rain would still come. Sometimes it would wash away the stars entirely, leaving only the sound of water and the comfort of the fire. And sometimes, after a storm, the heavens would return brighter than before, stars flickering as if polished by rain for those watchers. The rhythm of weather became part of the rhythm of the night sky. You listen more closely now. Each raindrop striking the dome is like a tiny clock. Together, they form a pattern that is not quite predictable, yet not chaotic either. This is the same paradox that defines the universe itself, order and disorder intertwined. The rain outside is, in truth, guided by science, by gravity, air currents, condensation, and the cycle of water rising and falling through the world. Every drop on the roof above you once belonged to a cloud, a river, an ocean. Perhaps it has even passed through the body of a living thing, for water is endlessly shared, and now, as it falls, it carries echoes of oceans and storms that existed long before you. The stars, too, carry such echoes. Each glimmer of light you see on a clear night is not a present moment, but a memory. Starlight takes years, centuries, even millennia to travel. Across space, when it reaches your eyes through a telescope, it carries the past into your present. Rain and starlight both are ancient travelers. One falls swiftly from the clouds, the other journeys slowly across the void. Yet both arrive here to you in this quiet dome on this rainy night. You close your eyes and imagine the rain as falling starlight, every drop a spark, every spark a reminder that the heavens above are not empty, but alive. And when the sound of the rain deepens, you feel as though the universe itself is whispering, steady and unending. The observatory is a human invention, but it is also a kind of vessel. It carries forward the longing of countless generations who looked upward and asked, what lies beyond? The rain is only temporary. The dome will open again. The telescope will tilt, and the stars will be there patient, waiting, unchanged by the passing of clouds. Astronomy is as much about waiting as it is about discovery, and tonight you learn that waiting can be its own form of wonder. Outside, the storm shifts, the drops strike harder, then soften again, as if the sky itself is breathing. You notice how sound fills the space around you, muffled but present, steady but never the same. It feels not unlike the steady pulse of your own heartbeat. Science has long measured the rain in inches and the stars in light years. But here, now, you measure them in feelings, the sense of time slowing, the comfort of shelter, the nearness of infinity. Pressed close by the sound of water, your hand brushes the cool brass of the telescope's frame. It has watched skies that you will never see, nights long past and forgotten. It is both an eye and a memory, holding within it the work of all who built it, polished it, and set it here. The telescope waits quietly, as if dreaming of clear nights. Its patience reminds you of the rain, unhurried, inevitable, faithful. You find yourself imagining the first time someone placed their eye against glass and saw not a blurred light, but a world, the moons, craters, sharp as shadows, the planets, no longer wandering lights, but spheres, complete and strange. That astonishment must have been like hearing the rain for the first time, realizing that what seems random has a hidden order, a pattern waiting to be known. The sound of the rain softens again. It becomes less like a storm and more like a lullaby. The dome above feels protective, like a roof of hands cupped gently over the fragile flame of your thoughts. You let yourself sink deeper into the rhythm of falling water. Astronomy does not always require sight. Sometimes it requires only listening to rain, to silence, to the steady unfolding of time. You breathe slowly, and in that breath, you feel the connection. Water rising, clouds gathering, rain falling, rivers flowing, oceans waiting. Above it all, stars shine, indifferent to the weather, yet part of the same cycle of energy and change. Water and light, both forever moving, forever arriving, forever reminding you that you belong to a story larger than yourself. And as you listen, you begin to wonder about those who first told stories about the stars while listening to storms. You wonder what shapes they saw, what myths they dreamed, what constellations they named. You wonder what truths they carried in their hearts as rain fell around their fires, and how their questions still echo into this dome, into your thoughts, into the silence between raindrops. And as you drift in this thought, lulled by rain and memory, you begin to follow those ancient watchers outward, into the skies they traced with stories, into the constellations that still whisper their names. Ancient skies, ancient eyes. You sit quietly, the rain outside easing to a hush, as if the storm itself pauses to listen. The dome above no longer feels like a barrier, but a bridge, a reminder that the stars, though hidden tonight, have been seen for countless nights before. This one, your thoughts drift outward across centuries and landscapes, to the first people who gazed upward and let their imaginations weave the heavens into stories. Long before observatories, before telescopes, before maps and books, the sky itself was a living library. Each star was a letter, each constellation a sentence, each season a chapter unfolding in real time, for shepherds watching their flocks on quiet hillsides, for sailors braving unknown seas, for families gathered around flickering fires. The night sky was not only beautiful, it was essential. It held guidance, memory, myth, and mystery. You imagine yourself beside them, wrapped in a simple cloak, the air cool and clear. Above you, the stars spread wide, far more brilliant than in today's cities. There is no electricity, no glow of street lamps, no distraction but the natural world. The heavens stretch out as a map of endless lights, some faint, some bold, all shimmering like jewels scattered on dark silk. And as you gaze upward, you feel the first stirring of wonder, the same wonder that has whispered to every pair of human eyes since the beginning. Consider Orion, the great hunter of the sky. Even now, you know his belt, 3 stars in a line, easy to spot, unmistakable in their symmetry to ancient Greeks. He was a giant, striding across the heavens, bow-drawn dogs at his side. To Egyptians, Orion was Osiris, the god of rebirth, mirrored by the pyramids at Giza, which align with those 3 stars. In every culture, Orion is more than a pattern of light. He is a story, a presence, a reminder that the sky speaks in many voices. The rain has stopped now, but in your mind, the fire still crackles, and you watch as someone raises a hand, pointing out another constellation. Ursa Major, the Great Bear, sprawling across the north. Its brightest 7 stars form the Big Dipper, an easy ladle in the sky. For the Greeks, it was Callisto, a maiden transformed into a bear by Zeus. For Native American peoples, it became not a bear but a group of hunters chasing prey across the seasons. The stars themselves, moving as though telling the story frame by frame. You see how myth and observation merge, how the sky becomes not just distant, but intimate, a mirror for human lives and dreams. Then there are the Pleiades, the 7 sisters, delicate and faint, yet impossible to ignore, clustered close together. They shimmer like dewdrops on a black leaf. To the Japanese, they are Subaru, still lending their name to the car company whose emblem shows the cluster's stars. In Greece, they were daughters of Atlas, pursued by Orion across the heavens. In Aboriginal Australian traditions, the Pleiades are also sisters, their stories tied to land and to cycles of food and ceremony. Wherever you go, whatever culture you listen to, the same small cluster becomes a song of belonging. The stars are fixed, but their meaning is infinite. You pause in your thoughts, noticing how natural it feels to assign meaning to the random scatter of stars. The human mind longs for patterns. It is how you make sense of chaos, how you turn points of light into animals, heroes, gods, and guides. Even today, as satellites cross the sky and maps of the cosmos grow more precise, those patterns remain. The constellations still glow on modern star charts, not as scientific necessity, but as memory echoes of stories whispered beneath countless skies. The stars were also more than myths. They were clocks, calendars, and compasses. Imagine a sailor on an open sea, the horizon vast and unbroken, no land in sight. The North Star, Polaris, shines steady above, unchanging in its place by its height above the horizon. A sailor knows their latitude, their place upon the earth. The Big Dipper's handle points toward Polaris, making it a guide for the lost in deserts, in forests, on rolling plains. Stars became silent companions, pointing the way home. Even time itself was measured by the heavens. The rising of Sirius, the dog star, marked the flooding of the Nile in Egypt, signaling planting and harvest. The changing tilt of constellations marked the passage of seasons, guiding when to hunt, when to sow, when to rest. Long before written calendars, the night sky held the rhythms of life, steady and faithful. You breathe slowly, feeling the depth of this continuity. The very same stars you see today, Orion, Ursa Major, the Pleiades, Sirius, are the same lights watched by those first storytellers, those shepherds, sailors, and dreamers. Though empires have risen and fallen, though languages have been born and forgotten, the constellations remain. They are threads stitching together all of human history, visible to every generation, unchanged in their positions, eternal in their presence. The fire in your imagination burns lower now, but the sky above grows brighter, as though the darkness itself leans closer. You think of how fragile memory can be yet, how the stars keep memory safe. Stories carved into the night cannot be erased easily. They wait, patient for each new pair of eyes to rediscover them. And yet, there is also humility here. The stars do not bend to our stories. They are not bears or hunters or sisters. They are spheres of plasma, vast suns burning with nuclear fusion, unimaginably distant, unimaginably ancient, and still, despite their reality, they welcome our imagination. They allow us to see both truth and tale, both science and story, without contradiction, for in the night sky, fact and myth lie side by side, and both have their place in the human heart. Your thoughts return to the observatory dome, the wooden roof still damp with rain. You realize that astronomy did not begin with instruments, but with eyes, with quiet looking, with curiosity that did not require answers in that sense. You share something eternal with those first watchers. You too are part of the long chain of gazes lifted upward. Your heartbeat joins theirs. Your breath mingles with their fire smoke. Your wonder echoes their wonder. Perhaps that is why bedtime stories so often return to the stars. They are both distant and close, vast and intimate, silent and yet endlessly talkative. Each culture may name them differently, but the act of naming, of connecting, is itself the same. Looking upward, you are reminded that you belong to a shared human story, one that stretches from ancient deserts and seas all the way to this rainy night in a quiet observatory. The stars are not merely decoration, they are teachers. They remind you to look, to wait, to imagine, to connect. They remind you that knowledge begins not with answers, but with wonder. And so you sit quietly, as if beside that ancient fire, eyes turned upward, heart open to the same endless, unbroken sky. The night deepens, and your breathing slows. You feel the softness of your chair, the faint scent of rain lingering in the wood. The dome above you feels almost transparent now, as though the myths themselves have drifted inside, circling you in their gentle glow. You hear whispers of Orion's stride, the Great Bear's journey, the Seven Sisters' song, and you wonder what other stories what other tools, what other patient inventions might have grown from this same act of looking. And as you linger in this thought, you begin to follow the slow drip of water, the steady tick of time, leading you toward the next chapter, where water clocks and star maps wait to show how wonder took its first steps into measurement. Water clocks and star maps. The rain has faded now to silence, and in that hush you find yourself wandering into another room of memory, another chamber of thought. The observatory's wooden walls give way to stone corridors, lined with shelves. You step into an old library, where the air smells of ink, dust, and cool stone. Candlelight flickers across scrolls, parchments, and strange instruments resting quietly on polished tables. It feels as if you have entered not just a building, but a mind that has been patiently measuring, recording, and imagining the sky for centuries. On one table sits a vessel of clay, wide at the base, narrow at the top. From a small hole near its rim, water drips steadily into another container. Below, you watch as each droplet falls, striking the surface with a tiny sound, barely more than a sigh. This is a clepsydra, a water clock, one of the oldest devices humans made to measure time. Its rhythm is patient, unhurried, and soothing like the very rain you listened to earlier against the dome. You imagine the first time someone noticed that water, flowing at a steady rate, could mark the hours of a night. The dripping became a kind of heartbeat, a reminder that time is always moving, even when the stars seem fixed. In ancient Egypt, priests used water clocks to measure the hours for temple rituals, aligning their prayers with the rising of Sirius, the dog star, whose return heralded the flooding of the Nile in Greece. Judges used them to time speeches in court, letting the slow drip of water decide when a man must end his argument. In China, elaborate water clocks were built with bronze vessels and carved dragons, their steady flow marking calendars that tied earth and heaven together. Each drop was more than water, it was time itself, captured and released, a reminder that even the endless sky could be broken into moments. You lean closer, listening, and realize that the sound of dripping water feels like the stars themselves, steady, regular, eternal. Rain and starlight, water and fire, both moving, both keeping time in different ways. Your thoughts drift upward again, toward maps, not the kind folded in pockets or printed in atlases, but star maps, parchment skies, inked with patient hands. Before telescopes, before sextants, there were charts drawn by those who simply looked carefully, night after night, marking each star's place against the dark. The Greeks charted constellations, linking them to stories so they could be remembered. The Babylonians carved star lists into clay tablets, some of which still exist today, holding the earliest recorded astronomy in China. Detailed star maps were painted on silk, showing not only constellations, but entire celestial regions, as if the heavens themselves were kingdoms with borders, and rulers Imagine unrolling such a map beneath your hands, the parchment smooth and faintly crackling with age. Ink dots scatter across it like seeds, each carefully placed, each representing a light you might see on a clear night. Dot lines connect them into figures, hunters, bears, sisters, dragons. B. Beyond the stories. The maps are also practical. They tell you when to plant crops, when to expect floods, how to navigate seas, when to prepare for winter's return. The stars, after all, were calendars long before paper ones. The heliacal rising of Sirius, when it first became visible just before dawn, was used in Egypt to mark the new year. In Polynesia, sailors memorized star paths, knowing which constellation rose in which season, using them as compasses across vast oceans. In Mesopotamia, priests tracked the wanderings of planets, their movements becoming omens, predictions, and eventually the foundations of astronomy itself. The sky was not separate from life. It was a mirror of life. You breathed slowly, imagining how patient those sky watchers had to be to make a star map. One could not simply glance upward once. It required countless nights, the same stars traced again and again, positions checked, angles compared. And when a star shifted or a new light appeared, it had to be recorded carefully. Even comets, once feared as harbingers of doom, became part of the written sky. Their appearances noted, their paths followed, step by step, drop by drop. Knowledge gathered like water, filling a vessel in this quiet library of the mind. You notice how the water clock and the star map belong together. Both are ways of measuring. The UNMEASURABLE.1 counts the hours of the night. The other maps the eternity of the heavens. Together they remind you that human curiosity always seeks rhythm, always seeks pattern. We cannot help but ask, when, where, how? The dripping of water teaches us that moments pass. The mapping of stars teaches us that patterns endure. You let yourself sink deeper into this thought, lulled by the softness of history's patience. The rain outside may have ceased, but inside, your imagination, the drip of the water clock continues, steady and unbroken. You feel as though you could fall asleep to its rhythm, letting it count your breaths, guiding you toward stillness. At the same time, you see the faint lines of a star map glowing like constellations across the ceiling, time measured below, eternity mapped above. You are held gently between them, a small being within a vast harmony, and as you linger here, you think of how the tools we build are not just instruments, they are metaphors, reflections of ourselves. A water clock is not only about time, it is about patience, flow, continuity. A star map is not only about navigation, it is about memory, story, belonging. In every drip of water, in every ink dot of a map, you find the same truth, that humans long to capture the fleeting, to name the infinite, to hold the unholdable. Your breath slows, and you imagine yourself as one of those ancient scribes, bent over parchment with a quill, dipping ink, steadying your hand as you draw the faint curve of a constellation. You feel the weight of centuries in the act, yet also the lightness of wonder. Perhaps this is the secret of sleep itself, the trust that time will keep flowing, that stars will keep shining, whether your eyes are open or closed. The water clock keeps dripping, the map remains. Ink unmoving, stars steady, and you drifting. Become part of their rhythm. The candles in the library burn lower, their flames quivering like small stars. You feel yourself enveloped by the hush of the room, the faint scent of old paper, the invisible ticking of time. And as you close your eyes, you wonder softly what came next. After water clocks and maps, what other tools would be shaped from glass and fire? What other eyes would press closer to the heavens, seeking to see more than stories, more than patterns, but the worlds themselves? And as the last drop falls from the water clock, as the last candle flickers beside the star map, your thoughts turn gently toward the shimmer of glass, the first lenses, and the telescope's awakening light. Lenses, glass, and the telescope's first light. The workshop is dim, yet it glows with a restless warmth. You stand near a furnace where sand, once scattered on ancient shores, softens into liquid fire. The glassmaker's breath steadies, his movements practiced, almost prayer-like, with each rotation of his rod. Molten glass turns, glowing like a captured sun. The air smells faintly of smoke, minerals, and possibility. Glass, you realize, begins as earth silica from sand, gathered grain by grain, transformed through fire's persuasion. It cools into a surface both fragile and eternal, clear enough to hold a window to the stars. You imagine raindrops sliding across. That surface, each droplet, its own tiny lens, bending light, softening vision. Even the storm outside seems to pause, watching as the firelight gives birth to clarity. Lenses are not yet telescopes, not yet invitations to the sky at first. They serve humbler, need-shelping, aging eyes, aiding scribes who labor by candlelight. A convex curve bends letters into focus, pulling blurred edges into meaning. Through these lenses, a page once clouded becomes sharp again, like fog lifting over a valley. And so, before they reveal Saturn's rings, they reveal the ink of human thought. You linger by the bench where polished glass rests, each piece cradled like a jewel. It is easy to forget how fragile they areons slip, and years of labor could shatter. But it is also easy to forget how strong they are able to withstand centuries if left unbroken. Glass remembers its fire. Even when it cools, you can almost hear it whisper, patient, waiting for light. Now the telescope appears, rising in the mind like a story about to be told. Galileo lifts it, not with arrogance, but with wonder. He angles it toward the moon, where craters and shadows hide within plain sight. What was once a smooth silver coin in the sky suddenly becomes rugged, scarred, textured like stone. The telescope turns mystery into geography, dream into detail. You picture yourself beside him, the night air crisp, the lens still new. Your breath fogs the glass for a moment, blurring the universe, then clears. Through the tube of polished glass, a vision unfolds, mountains taller than you. Imagined, valleys carved in silence. The moon is no longer a perfect heavenly sphere, but a place, and in seeing it, you feel the first tremor of possibility. If it is a place, perhaps one day it may be walked. Galileo turns the glass elsewhere, his hands trembling slightly as he shifts the scope. Jupiter rises into view, larger than expected, brighter than you remember, and Thenon 2, 3, 4 points of light circle it. Like moths around a flame, they are moons, invisible to the naked eye. Revealed by glass, the universe has more companions than it ever confessed. Imagine the quiet shock of it, the certainty of Centaurus, the Earth at the center. Unmoving begins to waver. The telescope, no larger than a walking stick, shakes the pillars of thought. You can almost hear the sound, like stone cracking under hidden pressure, a shift not loud, but inevitable, as rivers carve valleys drop by drop. Outside the workshop, rain begins to fall again. Droplets spatter the window, each one bending the candle's flame into tiny halos. You notice how the world softens when viewed through water. Each raindrop becomes a telescope in miniature, curving vision, refracting truth. Even storms, it seems, are teachers of light. Glass itself is neither alive nor dead, yet it acts with a strange patience. It invites light in, then bends it without resistance. When two lenses join, a convex and a concavity guide vision further than eyes alone can reach. It is a marriage of opposites, a balance of curves, and from this union, the telescope is born. Think of the word itself, tele, meaning far, scoping, meaning to see. Far-seeing. Not only a tool, but a promise that distance can be crossed by vision, if not by feet. When you hold such an instrument, you feel the stretch of your own perception, like wings unfolding in thought. You begin to sense that seeing further also means feeling smaller, and yet more connected. Glass continues to refine itself over centuries, crafted thinner, polished clearer, ground with greater care. Each advancement sharpens vision, peeling back another veil from the sky. The moon becomes a world, Saturn becomes a ringed jewel. Nebulae, once mere clouds, glow with hidden fire, and yet, glass is never only about distance. It is also about intimacy. The same lens that reveals Saturn's rings can also magnify the veins of a leaf, or the shimmering scales of a butterfly's wing through glass. You can travel outward into the cosmos, or inward into the intricate universes of the small dot. It is a reminder that wonder is not only above, but also beneath your fingertips. You pause, letting this duality settle in. A telescope is a bridge, but so is a raindrop. A magnifying glass is a bridge, but so is the pupil of your eye. Every act of seeing is an act of crossing, and every act of crossing is an act of belonging. The workshop grows quiet now, the fire low, the lenses resting in their cloth nests. You close your eyes and still see the afterimage of spies, bright points etched against your inner darkness. It is strange, you think, how fragile glass, born from sand and fire, can unlock entire universes. And It is stranger still how easily vision can change belief. You imagine lying beneath the night sky, telescope by your side, rain-soft grass beneath your head. Above you, stars spill endlessly, a map too vast to fold. You wonder if seeing them more clearly makes them closer or more distant. Perhaps both. Perhaps clarity is always both a gift and a question. The rain slows, then stops, leaving the windows streaked with paths of water. Each line is a reminder that sight is never final, always filtered, always passing through some medium glass, air, cloud, or memory. And in that awareness, you drift into stillness, letting the images dissolve, letting the lenses close like eyelids. Somewhere in the distance, a new sound begins. Quiet hum of polished brass, the whisper of mirrors, the glimmer of light gathered not by glass alone, but by reflection. You sense that the journey of vision is not finished here. It is only turning a page, waiting for the mirror's patient silver to speak next. Storms, comets, and the long night sky. You walk out into the night, and the sky feels both endless and intimate. It stretches above you like a quilt stitched with stars, yet every thread seems to hum with secrets you have not yet heard. The air is cool against your skin, and the soft patter of rain begins, like a private rhythm, reminding you that storms belong not only to earth, but also to the heavens. You breathe deeply, and the night breathes back, carrying you toward the long history of storms and comets, those restless wanderers that have traced paths of awe and unease across the sky. You pause for a moment, feeling how the sky is never truly still. Even when the stars appear frozen, planets wander, comets flare, and storms rage in silence, too vast for your ears to catch. This quiet restlessness mirrors your own inner rhythms, the heart that beats, the breath that ebbs and flows, the thoughts that drift and wander like clouds. You realize that by looking up, you are not only gazing outward into infinity, but also inward into the quiet storm of yourself. Long ago, comets appeared as omens to those who watched the heavens with fear and reverence. A sudden streak of light with a glowing tail felt like a tear in the order of the universe. Ancient Chinese records describe comets as broom stars, sweeping ill fortune across the sky. Roman historians connected their appearance with the rise and fall of emperors. Even Shakespeare wrote of comets as messengers of fate, linking their brief flames with the drama of kings and death. You imagine standing in those times, without telescopes, without explanations, watching a glowing arc appear suddenly in the black dome above. It must have felt like a whisper from gods you could not see, a reminder that the world was vast and full of signs. But as centuries passed, wonder softened into patience, and patience unfolded into science. Astronomers began to trace the paths of comets, watching them return not as omens, but as clockwork travelers. In the 17th century, Edmund Halley noticed that a bright comet appearing in 1682 resembled others recorded in 1531 and 1607. He calculated its orbit, daring to suggest that these were not separate visitors but the same body, circling the sun like a slow, fiery pilgrim. Halley predicted it would return in 1758, long after his death, and so it did precisely when he said it would. In that moment, the comet lost its shroud of fear and gained the dignity of being understood. You picture Halley's comet now, sweeping through the sky every 76 years, bright enough to be remembered across lifetimes. Perhaps a child once saw it with wide eyes in 1835, and as an old man, frail but ungoated, saw it again in 1910. You imagine the comfort of such return, a reminder that even in the storms of a single life, there are rhythms vast enough to embrace both your beginnings and your endings. Not only comets, but storms, too, belong to the story of the sky. Yet, unlike Earth's short tempests, some storms last for centuries. You turn your thoughts to Jupiter, the giant planet swirling far beyond the asteroid belt. Its surface is not solid, but made of gas. And in its endless clouds lies the great red spot, a storm so large it could swallow Earth whole. When it was first observed more than 300 years ago, its swirling oval was already fierce and bright. Since then, astronomers have watched it shift, shrink, and grow, but never vanish. A hurricane older than nations, older than many languages, still spins in silence. You imagine standing on Jupiter's edge, though no ground would support you. Winds there rage at hundreds of miles per hour, colors blending into ochre, cream, and crimson bands. To you, safe beneath your own calm sky, the thought of such chaos brings not fear, but perspective. For if storms can rage for centuries and still soften in time, then perhaps the tempests of your own life are small and passing, like brief showers compared to Jupiter's eternal dance. Other worlds, to hold tempests that blur the line between wonder and awe. Saturn, with its delicate rings, hides tempests shaped like hexagons at its poles, storms so vast they form geometric patterns in the atmosphere. Neptune, far colder and darker, once bore the great dark spot, a storm rivaling Jupiter's, though it vanished when next observed, like a ghost dissolving into the wind. Uranus, tilting on its side, carries storms that roll across its strange horizon, hidden to all but the sharpest telescopes. You find comfort in this, that even in silence, even at distances too great for sound to travel, the universe is full of restless weather, whispering of change and movement. Back on Earth, storms and comets have always stirred imagination. You listen to the rain tapping around you and feel how it echoes the steady rhythm of stars. Rain reminds you that water is a storm's gift, nourishing fields and rivers even as it unsettles. In the same way, comets bring gifts of their own. Scientists now know that many comets are made of ice, dust, and ancient molecules remnants from the birth of the solar system. Some even carry amino acids, the building blocks of life. When comets collided with Earth in its youth, they may have seeded oceans with the first ingredients for life. What was once an omen of destruction may have been a messenger of beginnings. You linger on this thought, destruction and creation folded together in one body, a bright traveler blazing across the sky. To watch a comet is to witness history older than Earth, and perhaps older than life itself. To follow its path is to glimpse the possibility that storms, collisions, and upheavals are not the end, but the beginning of stories not yet told. Astronomers across centuries have carried this same awareness. In the stillness of observatories, they turned telescopes toward comets and storms, scribbling notes by candlelight, eyes heavy yet unblinking. Each observation was a thread woven into the long tapestry of human understanding. You imagine those scholars listening to the night wind, feeling the same mixture of wonder and fatigue you feel now, knowing that what they wrote might guide eyes centuries later. In their patience, you find kinship, a reminder that even in solitude, your quiet attention to the world is part of something vast and enduring. The night deepens around you, and clouds drift across the stars. Somewhere beyond them, Jupiter spins comets curve in their ancient orbits, and storms churn on planets you will never walk upon, yet you feel no distance. The universe has always been both near and far, both intimate and infinite. The rain that falls on your skin is the same water once stirred by storms millions of years ago. The same molecules carried perhaps by comets to a young Earth. To feel the rain is to touch history, to drink from the oldest story the cosmos tells you. Close your eyes and let the rhythm of rain fold into your breathing. In the darkness behind your lids, you see comets streaking, storms swirling, and planets turning. It is not chaos, but music, slow and patient, a symphony written across billions of years. You let it play softly within you until your thoughts, too, begin to orbit more slowly, circling toward stillness. And yet, there is always another question lingering. For if storms can rage for centuries, and comets can carry the seeds of life, then what other travelers drift unseen across the long night sky? What other messages do they carry, waiting to be understood? You listen to the rain, and it feels like a comet's whisper, like Jupiter's storm in miniature. You wonder, gently, what other hidden patterns wait in the darkness, and what quiet revelations the next chapter of the night might bring. A sky that waits for morning. You stand on a quiet balcony, the night still wrapped around you like a soft shawl. The rain that once tapped steadily on the roof has eased. Now, only a gentle mist drifts in the air. The world feels rinsed, refreshed, hushed. You draw a breath and let it go, slow, as if your lungs, too, are part of this softened landscape above you. The night sky stretches vast, though its brilliance has already begun to thin. The deep velvet darkness is paling at the edges, surrendering to the touch of morning stars that only hours ago blazed with clarity now look fragile, like fading embers in cooling ashdot, yet their presence remains faint, lingering as though they are not entirely ready to leave. You think of how stars themselves do not vanish, how they continue their burning millions of light years away. It is only your turning Earth, your horizon tilting toward the sun, that makes them retreat from sight. The constellations are still there, just beyond reach, waiting for the night to gather them once again. And there is comfort in that thought, that absence is never absence, only a pause, a veil of light between you and what lies beyond. The balcony rail is cool beneath your fingers. The air smells of wet stone, of soil darkened by rain, of leaves heavy with droplets. These scents, too, seem like constellations of the earth patterns and reminders stitched into the fabric of your senses. They belong to the morning, just as the stars belong to the night. You tilt your face upward, imagining the sky not as a ceiling but as an ocean above. The stars are its bioluminescent creatures, glowing softly, moving in currents of gravity and time. Galaxies swirl like whirlpools, clusters like drifting shoals of fish. Truth, you are afloat beneath them, buoyed by the steady rhythm of your breath. Astronomers once believed the heavens were immutable, a perfect crystalline sphere where stars were fixed for eternity. The idea itself was a comfort, that above the chaos of storms and wars, there was something eternal, untouchable, perfectly ordered. But as centuries passed, telescopes revealed motion. Stars were born and stars died. Comets swept in long arcs. Galaxies collided and reshaped. Even the universe itself was expanding, as though the night sky were breathing out, slowly, endlessly. You think of those early astronomers, sitting in towers or lying on hillsides with ink-stained hands, sketching what they saw. They recorded not only stars, but their own patience, their own persistence through sleepless nights. Some must have sat, like you, waiting for dawn to arrive. Their ink strokes became the memory of skies that faded as morning returned. And here you are, centuries later, holding their maps in your mind. A faint blush now rises at the horizon, subtle, like the shy opening of a flower. The stars at the edge vanish first, melting into pale light. Orion's belt, so sharp in the winter sky, begins to blur, as if wrapped in gauze. The Pleiades, that tiny cluster of jewels, dissolve into invisibility. Yet you can still see them if you close your eyes. There is a word for this hour, dawn, but there is also another, softer word, twilight. It is a liminal time, neither night nor day, a gentle crossing between two states. Astronomers call this moment astronomical twilight, when the sun is still far below the horizon, but its light touches the upper atmosphere and scatters downward. It is light without source, illumination without sight of the star itself, like the memory of a dream that lingers. After waking, the mist thickens briefly. Curling against the balcony, you watch droplets collect on the railing, one after another, until they fall. Each drop holds a reflection of the sky, a miniature world upside down. It makes you think of how Earth itself is a droplet, suspended in the vastness, carrying oceans, forests, storms, and you from far away. Astronauts describe our planet as delicate, glowing, a fragile blue bead in darkness, and here you are, upon it, feeling the weight of gravity as a kind of embrace. The rain-soaked street below glimmers faintly, the lamplight bending across its surface. You imagine how rain to wind is part of the universe's rhythm. Each droplet forms in clouds that carry the memory of oceans, rivers, and lakes. They fall, they land, they seep into soil, only to return again as vapor to the sky, water to waits. Just as the stars wait for its next turn to appear. The sun has not yet risen, but the air brightens, a steady unveiling. You feel the balanced night slowly retreating, day slowly advancing. It is not abrupt but gradual, like a hand loosening its hold, and in that balance there is peace. Your body mirrors it, drifting between wakefulness and sleep, caught in a twilight of its own. You think of light itself, how it moves at the fastest speed known. Yet to you it appears gentle, patient. A photon leaving the sun now will take only 8 minutes to reach your balcony, but a photon leaving a distant galaxy may wander millions or billions of years before your eye receives it. In this moment, you hold ancient light that began its journey before you were born, before your species even dreamed of naming the stars. You close your eyes and see the constellations. You know Orion, the Pleiades, Cassiopeia, like a tilted chair. You imagine how each culture named them differently, how stories braided themselves into the same patterns. A hunter, a goddess, a bird, a fish, all written in stars that themselves never knew the names. It reminds you that stories, too, are a kind of light, traveling through time, carried from one mind to another. They change, yet they endure. Your breath slows. The balcony feels timeless, as though you are at the edge of two eternities, the eternity of night behind you and the eternity of day ahead. The sky waits, and you wait with it. You understand now that waiting is not emptiness, it is a pause, a holding of space, a chance to notice what lingers quietly. The first bird calls, tentative, as if testing the air. It is answered by another, and then another, until the sound is layered like a gentle chorus. Their voices seem stitched into the fabric of dawn itself. Even the birds are astronomers in their own way, sensing the coming of light before it is seen. A soft warmth touches your face. The horizon is no longer only pale, but tinged with rose, with gold. The stars have slipped entirely beyond sight, but their memory still glows within you. You carry them. As you carry the rhythm of the rain, the patience of the night, the comfort of knowing that what disappears will return. You remain on the balcony, breathing with the earth, eyes softened, thoughts like feathers, settling slowly. Morning comes, whether you watch or not. But in this moment, you are here, present for the unveiling. The sky waits, and you wait, until the balance tips fully into day. And you wonder, gently, what stories the morning sky will hold and how memory, like starlight, continues to travel forward into whatever comes next. Thank you for joining me tonight beneath the rainfall and the stars. May your dreams carry you where the constellations glow, and may you awaken gently as morning always comes. From whispers of the night I wish you peace, rest, and the softest of dreams. Good night.